It is the year 2472, and the Earth has suffered a great calamity. Hundreds of years of popular culture have vanished. Without the sacred films and texts for guidance, civilization is devoid of anything cool. Then, 3 incubation chambers are unearthed, and from within, men from the time of the great blockbusters emerge. Now, through highly interesting conversations, they share invaluable insight about what once was. The movies, the shows, the comics, toys, and books. This is
The Hyperspace.
Podcasting in the 25th century.
Welcome in, podcast pioneers, to the Hyperspace. Podcasting in the 25th century. The interweb's first and only podcast. My name's Matt.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Mike.
I look out my tube, guys, and I see everyone walking out there in the 25th century. And I'm thinking to myself, it kind of looks like a bunch of cosplayers that were doing, like, Galaxy Quest. But that's like their life.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Matt. You do see a lot of very bland unitards around.
And I kind of think, these guys don't know what cosplay is. These guys have never been to a convention. This is their life, back and forth.
They've never had pop culture. They wouldn't understand it.
I know. It's sad. We're trying. We're making dents here and there.
Is there a way we could maybe help them with that?
That's a great idea. Jared, how can we do that?
I think I know a guy.
Do you?
Yeah, I think he'd be the perfect one to talk to about maybe spicing up the way the 25th century thinks about pop culture and participating in it.
Good idea.
I've got it. I've got the perfect guy. I know. I think, you know what? We're gonna get him on the show today.
That's a good idea. So we're gonna talk to somebody a little later on who is incredibly talented at not only cosplay but building some unbelievable models and movie props.
Absolutely. That would blow these people's minds here in the 25th century. They wouldn't know what to think.
Oh, my goodness. But before we get to him, how about we drop some news from the interwebs?
News from the interwebs.
Okay, so this has been an ongoing thing for a little bit, and it's kind of interesting. Actually, it's very interesting to me, at least. But I mean, this past year, was it last year or this year? I don't know. So close. Anyway, within this recent time span, there was this colossal train wreck that came out that I think everyone's pretty familiar with at this point is the movie Cats.
Yes.
And I think anyone who saw the initial teaser for this thing looked like it was like the thing that nightmares are made out of, with these people with CG cat bodies and human faces. And
yeah,
it's just,
it was terrifying. I didn't get it.
I mean, it was. I look. You look at it and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So apparently, something that's come out recently about this is apparently the initial version of this movie, the cats had buttholes, and that is this started this. I don't know if it's like an official petition or not, but people have been demanding what they call the butthole cut of cats. But what's interesting about this, when it first comes out, you're like, well, no, that can't be true. That's insane. Like, who would even think of such a thing? Because when you watch cartoons, you have all these naked animals running around, and you never see any genitalia or anuses on any of them. Because
what's a genitalia?
Genitalia.
Genitalia?
Genitalia. They're bits. they're bits, as the British calls them. So then it came out that it was not, in fact, buttholes, but it was just the way the fur happened to be rendered on certain shots that gave it the look of buttholes. And which, when you read that, you're like, okay, that makes a little more sense. Because, in your
maybe
mind,
somebody's reading into it too much. And
yeah, you're like, because there's no way somebody put buttholes on these human beings that are acting like cats. It's just so absurd. But then it recently came out that there are, in fact, buttholes, or there were buttholes. And then some poor slob had to. I don't know if it was just him or if he did a majority of the work. It spent like, oh gosh, I can't remember how much time, but it was literally like there for like days at a time removing these buttholes.
You know, the butthole saga of cats has been on Mike's brain for a while. Ever since the news broke, we have been getting on our feed butthole updates on cats. But today,
this is your butthole update.
But today, we got the coup de grace of the butthole saga updates. And I have to say, I read the article that Mike sent, and it is outrageous. You know, the buttholes are just the tip of the animation iceberg that was a travesty of this movie. Mike, you can explain what was going on.
Oh, well, you know, the director, what's his name? Is
I
it
don't
Tom
who cares?
Hooper? Something, I don't know. But apparently this guy is just a doofus, because one of the things, because if anyone who is familiar with the movie making process, whenever they do CG shots as a way of saving time, because, you know, it takes a long time to render out a photorealistic image. And so in order to save that time as a form of just blocking the shots to make sure the movement of whatever is being animated is correct, they have these things they call animatics. And it's a very, very rough version of the CG. And it's just a way, like a quick and fast way to render something out for the director to preview, and like he approves the movement or on it, and then the animators can go and complete the shots, which is a much more time-consuming process, because, you know, they got to design the shot
Both for time and money.
and they have to render it out, which, you know, depending on how detailed the shot is or how fast the computer, of course I don't know how fast these computers are running now, but anyway, but apparently the director refused to look at animatics and would only look at finished shots, which is insane.
It must have taken forever to render dailies for him to look at.
Yeah, you're giving him a finished shot, and then he'll be like, make changes. So then they have to basically start from scratch and do it all over again.
Apparently, he was quite eccentric, too, where he wanted to see real cats performing the actions of the actors.
Here's a guy who watched too many cat videos.
It sounds like to me that the director might be the man behind the butthole saga. I think he was in on it. I think he wanted the buttholes.
Where are the buttholes?
He demanded the
Where
buttholes.
are the buttholes? Have you ever seen a cat without a butthole? What's going on here, you morons?
I mean, listen, I know that people really enjoy this Broadway show. It's been running forever. It's one of the most popular Broadway shows of all time. But to me, this sounds like too many people on the inside of the industry were patting themselves on the back and thinking that the whole world wants to see this, when in reality, nobody wanted to see this.
Well, now they want to see the butthole cut.
God.
Which, I have to be honest with you, I think I would watch that version of this movie.
I mean, this movie had gone into desperate overdrive way before they even released it. They went into panic mode. And
they updated it after it was released.
Yeah, so I mean,
you know what day it was released on?
What?
The same day as Rise of Skywalker.
Why? Who would do that? Why would you do
I got
that?
a great idea.
Okay.
Cats
Let's put
is
it
gonna
out.
smoke Rise of Skywalker. Star Wars better watch out. We got cat buttholes.
We got cat bottle.
A secret weapon. It's our own Death Star. So I mean, listen, I don't know anybody who went to see Cats. I don't know how. I don't think it was in the theater that long. I know they re-released it in the theater, trying to recoup some of it, but you know, I have to think that some of this butthole saga is also just trying to keep its name out there for people to be interested in some form or another of this
I don't know.
train wreck
It's
of a
pretty
movie.
embarrassing.
But I know if there ever is a butthole cut released, I know Mike will be the first person in line to see it.
We'll get a nice review.
I feel like it'll be kind of a letdown. I bet there won't be nearly as many buttholes as you're expecting.
I mean, you can watch Tiger King and see a few cat buttholes if you really need to, but to get your fix in before. But
well, he sounds like the director sounds like Joe Exotic.
He does.
Oh man,
I tell you what, if there's one thing I know about that Carol Baskin, is she likes some cat buttholes. Now, get in there and pick them cat buttholes up there, you sons of bitches.
you think George Lucas was nervous when he heard that it was going to be released the same day?
Well, you know, I tried to work in a scene in Attack of the Clones with there was this EOP and a bantha, and I wanted to put a big old bantha butthole, and I was gonna have Anakin walk up and sniff it.
Jeez. Well, we did get a big whatever the heck that thing was drinking out of that water in The Force Awakens. We got to see its big ass.
That's true.
Yeah. It wasn't a butthole though. It was just like butt cheeks squeezed together. So
But Jared, between those butt cheeks was a big old butthole.
Well, whether or
man.
not it was a trick of the eye or a purposeful animator putting in cat rectums,
Or what about the poor guy that had to take him out? Oh, Bill, you know all those buttholes we put in? Oh, God, yeah, I know, what a pain. Well, we need you to take him out.
I'm working on the movie Cats. It's going to be huge. What'd you do?
Oh,
It's
man.
just erase cat assholes. That's all I did. Come on. Anyways, don't go see Cats, anybody, please. It's not worth it. It just doesn't matter. There's a lot better things out there to watch, I'm sure, than Cats or Cats' buttholes. So
that's true.
Oh, I'm sure there are lots of things that are
Look,
better
if you
want to
watch, if you want to watch something with cats and buttholes, just watch Tiger King again.
exactly.
Yeah, because Joe Exotic is a big
the
old
bridge.
butthole.
He's a
It's
big
the
old
ultimate bridge.
butthole.
Oh, man. I think we've talked enough about cats and cats' buttholes.
I tell you what, though, I mean, guys, we keep talking about Tiger King, man. We got to do our Tiger King show.
Well, now that the final episode was released, I think we can talk about Tiger King pretty soon.
right.
We better, you sons of bitches.
I don't think we've heard the last of Joe Exotic. Though,
You better believe you have not.
we will. We'll definitely talk about Tiger King.
Well, we're trying to get him on the show too, see what he has to say about everything.
But I think right now, we'll switch gears and we'll get to something a little more interesting than
Palatable.
cat rectums. What do you think, Jared?
Gentlemen, I think we've talked about buttholes enough. Let's
Can
let's
you
talk.
ever really talk about buttholes enough?
Yes, absolutely, we can. And we are going to be moving on now to something much cooler, I think.
Can anybody hear me? We found something.
Transmissions. The Hyperspace Interview.
Transmission commencing.
If you've frequented the conventions in the Southeast, the big ones like Dragon Con, MegaCon, and Star Wars Celebration, you have probably seen our guests' work, and you probably have a picture with it. Today, we're going to be talking to our friend Charlie, who is an extremely talented designer, builder, cosplayer, pretty much worker of magic. He is here with us today to chat about his inspirations, what he's working on, how he does it, and all other things like that. So welcome to the hyperspace, Charlie.
Hi, thank you. Glad to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome to the 25th century.
Yeah, the 25th century. What do you think? We think it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of people walking around in their unitards eating their nutrient paste from tubes.
I'm cool with
It's
that.
not-
Can I change the color of my unitard through an app on my device?
I don't. Yeah, perhaps. Well, I'll ask to make sure that's allowed. But
Okay.
anyway, thank you for joining us today. We're going to ask you some questions. We're going to put you through the ringer, and we're going to try to make you as uncomfortable as possible.
Oh,
No,
God.
that's not true. No, we're not going to do that. But it should be known that Charlie has this ability to see something awesome in a movie or a TV show, and like 3 weeks later has a completely screen accurate representation of it in his house.
I wouldn't go as far to say I'm screen accurate. There's lots of people that are better than me, but I like to say that I'm
Shut your
accurate.
mouth.
I like to say
Why
that
don't
I'm
we have that person on here? What's going on here? Let's get this loser out of here.
Oh God, see what I mean? The derailer. That's his superpower.
I pride on being accurate from about 10 feet away.
Okay, well,
That's a good gauge. I like that.
10 feet accurate.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Why don't you tell us, like, for example, tell us what you're working on right now.
Well, currently I am working on an IG-11 from The Mandalorian. I've also I'm sitting right next to a half-finished folding battle droid. And I have like a half-finished astromech. I got a lot of half-finished things in my house.
So you're a droid person. That seems to be your focus.
Yeah, I'd say that.
That's true.
Yeah. So tell us, if you can remember back this far, what was the first thing you decided, you saw and you decided, I'm going to build that, and it's going to look great from 10 feet away?
Well, are we talking like as an adult or like as a child?
Just, I would say, start as a kid. I mean, what did you build back then? Has this been something that's always interested you?
I think so. When I was a kid, I really liked Ninja Turtles and Batman, and I got a big old piece of foam and sculpted it into a turtle shell and wore that around quite a bit.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool.
See, that is like 1,000% more effort than probably 98% of the population.
Okay. How old were you?
Don't picture it looking good. Picture a circle on my back.
Where did you get the foam?
I don't know. I think it was from an old mattress or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So like the spongy foam.
Yeah. It was terrible. I as far as that costume, I was really happy when I finally found a green pair of socks that I could put a rubber band between to look like I have two turtle toes.
Oh.
Wow.
See? Yeah, I would never think to do that.
I don't know. I was probably like, 8 or 9 then. I don't know.
See,
when were turtles
yeah.
real big? 87, 88. I was born in 1980, so.
Like, would you say that's what got you interested in making stuff, or was it just sort of kind of organic, where you were just like, oh, okay, there's something I like, I'll make
Was
that?
your dad big into crafting things? Did he work with his hands a lot?
Not really. My mom is a graphics designer, so I got a little artistic stuff from her, tools and stuff. No, I just, whenever I would see something, I'm like, I don't want that. And you can't go buy a turtle shell in the store. Well, you couldn't back then. You can now. But so I was like, I'm just going to go make this thing.
So working with Charlie for a long time, he'd disappear for a weekend, and you'd see on his social media that he was attending a conference and a convention. And, you live vicariously, nerdly through people like Charlie. And I'm wondering, what's the first convention you can remember going to? And what's the first convention you dressed up at? Do you remember?
Well, Dragon Con was the first one I ever went to. I was going to school up in Alabama area near Atlanta. And me and a couple of friends, whom you guys know, went to Dragon Con just for fun to see what it was, and we loved it. It was awesome. That was back in 2004, I think.
Now, what's the first one that you're like, I'm going to dress up, I'm going to make something, I'm going to get something dedicated to the next convention?
It was probably Dragon Con again, but not for years later. I think maybe
Really?
2009 or 11, I think.
Now, do you remember what you were? Or were you like nervous to step into that realm, to dive into that pool of cosplay?
No, it's kind of fun, And I actually went as a character that it's not like a famous character. It's just a robot costume that I wore on TV for my first job. Nobody knew what it was. I just walked around wearing it. It was kind of fun.
So you were just like, I've seen it. This was Plurkle the robot.
Yeah, it was Plurkle.
So wasn't Plurkle was that from the TV station you worked at?
Yeah, it was just
Had you already made that?
Yeah, I had made it just to wear in the background of this morning show we did, just messing around.
So, like, were you consistently making stuff like since you were a kid, or was there a point where it kind of fell off for a while and then you got interested in it?
Yeah, I don't know. Now looking back, I kind of feel like I have been making stuff the whole time, but I didn't really kick into high gear until, I don't know, maybe 2010.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, Charlie, one thing that we talk about here on the podcast a lot, which, by the way, we are the only podcast on the interwebs, so you have a huge audience because they have nothing else to listen to but us.
Yes.
But one thing we talk about a lot here is, we're all dads, and we all have kids, and, how we work in our lives around family. And, did you find it difficult when you had your kid, when you had your son, to find time to even work on these projects? Or does your son even, like, get into it with you or, like, dig this stuff?
No, I think having a kid probably, keeps me at home more hours of the day, so I kind of have more time to work on stuff that I want to work on.
That's good.
And he's at an age, he's 9 now, so he's kind of on his own. So
Is he cutting up mattresses to make turtle shells yet?
no, he's playing iPad all day.
Oh, really? Is he?
Oh.
Have you brought him to a convention with you yet?
Yeah, we take him to the local stuff sometimes. He likes meeting celebrities. He dressed up as Short Round from Temple of Doom and met the actual actor that played Short Round.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fun.
Oh, wow. Did the actor like that?
Charlie?
Yes, Jonathan K. Kwan did enjoy it. It was fun. It was a fun experience.
If I can add, I've got a little piece of this story I can add to. So Liam was dressed like Short Round, and I have an Indiana Jones fedora that I purchased back in the early 90s, and it's a genuine fur felt fedora, and it looks very screen accurate. And I had Charlie took this to the convention. So his son asked Jonathan K. Kwan if he would put the hat on, because Short Round wears the hat in the movie for a little bit when they're playing cards, I think. But so he did, and so the hat that I have in my house was worn by Short Round himself.
Oh, that's great.
Who had and Harrison Ford's actual fedora has touched that head, and that head has touched mine.
You know what
that
they
sounds
say?
Really
strange.
strange.
3 degrees.
Every hat that you wear, you're
from
wearing
Harrison
the same.
Ford.
That hat's wearing the person that hat's been with.
Harrison Ford and Jonathan K. Kwan have worn my hat, sort of. So anyway, that was fun, and it's a really cool picture too.
Well, there's another cool story I'd like you to tell, if you don't mind me interrupting. And this is a convention that me and Jared went with you when you made Rex.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool story. Won't you tell our listeners about that?
So Rex is the Star Wars droid that piloted Star Tours in the original incarnation of Star Tours, and it was MegaCon 2015 or 16, I think. I found out that Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman, was going to be there, and it's like a month or 2 away, and I was like, oh man, he did the voice of Rex. I want to build Rex and get my picture with him with Rex. So I made that droid in like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I think, as fast as I could.
And that droid looks exactly like the prop.
Yeah, it's spot on.
From the ride. It's pretty amazing.
That one's a good from 8 feet at least.
It's not animated or anything. I mean, it's people that make animated ones and 3D print and stuff. And I don't have a 3D printer, so I don't do much of that. I got nothing against it. I just don't have any printing abilities. But I just kind of brute force my stuff into existence with band saws and wood.
So you went to the convention, stood in line, and you took it up to Mr. Rubens, and he had a pretty cool reaction to it, didn't he?
Yeah, he was real surprised to see it, and he actually kind of ended the line after us and kind of hung out with us for a little bit. He moved us to the end, basically, really? and like hung out and talked to us for a little bit. It was pretty great.
Well, another cool thing that happened, too, the reason I know this, because we were there, But when you had your, because I don't know if people know how these conventions work, but you pay to have to stand with the celebrity for half a second to get a picture made. And Charlie had his family with him, and they took Rex. And Paul Rubens actually requested to have a picture of just him and the robot taken, correct?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, he wanted his own picture with just the droid.
No, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. It's always fun to hear about celebrities that are actually pretty cool in person.
Yeah, he was definitely pretty awesome.
So you're working on IG-11 right now, and it's pretty cool because Charlie keeps posting progress pictures of IG-11, and it's awesome to watch because he has it starts out as a cutout on his wall, and he just keeps filling it in with awesomeness. But Charlie, when you pick a project to work on, what's your process? What do you do? How do you even get started on something like this?
Well, if I'm watching a movie or a show, I'll see a character or a prop or a droid or something that I like, and I'm like, man, I really want to make that, and then I start making it. It's kind of that simple, I guess.
No, but you're pretty much, you make it, obviously you said you don't do a 3D printer, of course, but you're making it by hand. I mean, you're using basic tools to put everything together and just fashion it into something great.
Yeah, actually, IG-11 is the first time I use 3D printer. His head is actually 3D printed. I had my brother do that for me, but the rest of him is all kind of scratch built.
So what do you make him out of? Typically, IG-11, is he a lot of wood? Is he PVC? What materials do you use to make this stuff?
Arms and stuff is PVC pipes. Whatever's easiest to use. Yeah. And also, I got to think about how much it weighs if I'm going to be carrying it around. Right. I mean, he's actually starting to weigh quite a bit, but I use the EVA foam, which you can get those puzzle piece floor mats. I use that a lot, and that's really lightweight, and you can carve and cut that almost like wood.
One of the cool things about his IG-11 model is, if you watch The Mandalorian, it's very cool. It's the first time we got to see the IG droid's head in full articulation to see why it's designed that way, and Charlie's model kind of twists and turns in a very similar fashion. It's pretty cool. What kind of servos, what kind of stuff do you have to put into that? Just basic motors? I mean, is that just something that when you 3D print you leave room for and you just figure it out?
Actually, it's a lot lower tech than you'd think. I just tore apart an old remote control car and put the motors on a pipe inside his head and put little pulleys in there that spin it around.
That's more high tech than what I would be doing.
Didn't you say you and your mom invented
It's stuff that I've found lying around my house, basically. I didn't go out and
you and your mom
anything.
Invented something for the arm?
Yeah, I wanted a couple key things I wanted it to do. I wanted his arms to stick out straight and hold two guns, be able to point two guns straight without, sliding down or sloping down, which is hard to do without having giant wing nuts and bolts sticking out of it. So I came up with this little, almost like a donut with little teeth, and you pull it out, and there's a spring in the middle, and then you can adjust it. You have to pull it out and adjust it, so it can do that.
But the teeth kind of lock it in where it won't move.
Yeah.
That's cool. Charlie, for being a amateur hobbyist that puts these things together from scratch, they're amazing to look at. And the pictures that you post up and, of the conventions and just the stuff you do at home is just phenomenal. And, it's, we've all worked with you in the past on live television, and, you're okay at live television. But, no, I'm kidding. He's a great director, folks. He's fantastic. But you're amazing at being a hobbyist here, and it's you're doing this all from just, like you said, materials you're finding around the house and basically scratch.
I go to Home Depot a lot.
Yeah, well, I couldn't imagine if Charlie had the resources or he worked for a company that does this professionally. Charlie, he can manufacture this stuff out of thin air, basically, and it's just amazing to watch. And we'll put a few pictures up too of stuff that he's worked on.
We have to talk about probably one of your most famous creations, and that would be the battle droid Roger, which I would wager to say people listening to this, if you're a Star Wars fan and we're at Star Wars Celebration in 2016, 2017, you probably have a picture with Roger. because I know that Charlie could not walk more than 2 feet before someone would request a picture. It literally took us like an hour to leave the convention because people kept stopping him and saying, "Hey, can I have a picture with Roger?"
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun experience. I like to make stuff that you don't normally see, you know? You don't normally walk
And
around a
you're-
convention
and,
and
like,
see a battle droid standing there. So
You're right. That's true because, battle droids were all computer generated in the films. So seeing an actual 3-dimensional battle droid life size is it's a pretty crazy thing, actually.
yeah, and he's articulated, so I could like sit him in a chair if I wanted to. He didn't totally fold up like the other ones, like the ones in the movies, but
Well, that stinks.
I'm working on one that does. He's a prototype.
And before we move off of Roger, I remember it was an interesting thing because I would help to carry Roger around, and you had to grab him essentially in the crotch to carry him. So
That's where the weight
Did you
is
like
balanced.
that? Did you like that, Jared?
Shut up. Yeah, so
We took
every
a few
time
pictures of him standing at the urinals in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, we did. There are pictures of that, aren't there?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so that's one thing I remember about Roger is that he had a nice little convenient handle to pick him up by, right in the crotchal region.
All right, one more I'd like to talk about too, and this is like really like the first one I saw, and I've actually scrolled through like compilation slideshows from various posts on Facebook, and I've seen this one intermingled with those, and that was the arcade robot from Kung Fury. I mean, we'll definitely have to post a picture of that thing because that thing was just amazing. I mean, you were basically walking around, and I guess it was like made out of that foam stuff.
Yeah,
you were talking.
it's real lightweight, just foam, basically.
Like an arcade game. And I mean, you had the chips in the paint and the design, and I mean, that thing was just phenomenal. That thing was like just amazing.
That one was definitely one of the funnest things I've worn because that's a full-on costume. It's almost like a puppet / costume, kind of like some of the big Muppets are. Like Sweetums is like a big puppet costume. That's what that felt like, because the middle fingers spring up and shoot birds like it does in the movie. That's my favorite part, is to surprise people with that.
That's a friendly robot. Oh no, he's not. He's flipping me off.
In his defense, he has an angry face.
That's true. He does.
He does. Now,
what'd you expect? He's frowning at you.
You had to have you had a fan in there to cool you off, didn't you? Like you mounted a fan inside.
Yeah, it kind of kept the air circulating a little bit. I had one of those Camelback water backpack things too.
Did you have something to pee into, or is that where the water came from? I got one of those backpack recyclers. I was wearing my still suit.
Wait,
it's not
a recycler?
What?
It's not recycled. It just goes straight through. Yeah, I haven't been invented yet, you moron.
It's processed in the thigh pads. But I see, aside from building a lot of models, Charlie does a lot of cosplay. I see him popping in and out of these conventions all the time on social media. Especially recently, you do a lot of Stranger Things cosplay. Like you're like Murray a lot, aren't you?
I did that. I did it once.
So here's a question: when you dress up specifically in costume, is there like a community that like is more into each other at this point? Like, do the Stranger Things kids hang out more? Do the Star Wars kids like what gloms people together the most that you've seen?
I don't know. I think the easiest thing about cosplay in general is you see somebody that is wearing something from a fandom you like, then it makes it easy to go up and talk to them about it. I mean, as opposed to walking by a random stranger and not knowing what things they like, you can't really. Hey, do you like Stranger Things?
You've most recently cosplayed as a couple of Marvel characters with some pretty amazing detail. Why don't you talk a little bit about those particular creations?
Well, I did Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, you specifically grew your hair and beard to match Kurt Russell's appearance.
Yeah, I kind of like, if I don't have anything planned, I kind of just let my hair and beard grow, and then once I get closer to something, I'm like, should I get it cut for this or that? So, I don't know, like movie actors, I guess they do that, don't they?
Yeah, I would imagine. But
Unless
then
you're crap, never mind, I forgot his name. Henry Cavill.
Oh. Yeah, you know what? Somebody should cosplay as Superman, but have like appliances on their face, like that makes their face look like they've just had their wisdom teeth taken out, like he looks when they tried to CGI his beard away.
Looks like a Snapchat
He could be
filter.
CGI mustache Superman. Gosh, it does. It looks so bad. Superman, what's wrong with your face? I just had my wisdom teeth out. Oh yeah, that was rough. But one of my favorites that you've done recently was Fat Thor.
Oh yeah,
that was a good one.
Bro Thor.
Yeah,
that was
fun.
I
There's
think
about
I remember
1,000 other people with the same
remember
costume
talking to you
last year, though.
Well, I know. I remember when the movie came out, like there was the memes going around saying, every fat fanboy's dream come true. We can finally cosplay as Thor.
Yeah.
I tell you one I saw that I really liked. And I tell you the cosplay ones I actually enjoy more are the ones where they do like kind of like an obscure thing. And your brother did Kylo Ren as Matt.
Yeah.
Was that his name from
the
Matt. Saturday Night Live skit?
Yeah,
radar technician.
That was fantastic, man.
Yeah.
And your brother kind of looks like Adam Driver too, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, he filled out that pretty well. Yeah, that was fun. My brother does a lot of fun ones too. He did what's the green dude from Wreck-It Ralph 2 that holds the sign? What's that guy's name?
Oh yeah, he was the guy who was Bill Hader.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He kept just flashing the sign saying,
costume,
"Make money playing video games."
Yeah. The people that see it
Yeah.
just lose their mind and just laugh. It's so funny. Click here.
He also did Dyson from Jurassic Park, right?
Dotson.
Dodson.
Sorry,
we got Dodson here.
Yeah. I told him I want to gain some more weight and be Nedry with him one year.
Oh man, I don't know. Just why don't you just cut up another mattress and use that? 'Cause that is cosplaying as Nedry would be hazardous to your health.
I'd rather just eat ice cream for a year.
Yeah, just eat ice cream for a year.
God, it's get a Christian Bale out here.
I'm a method cosplayer.
That fat looks real. It is.
So not that we want you to tip your hand, but what do you have your eye on? Maybe after IG-11 is finished, anything?
Ooh, like the obscure stuff. My brother has done the guy from Office Space, Lumbergh. He's done that costume before, and it's a hit. So I want to go with him and be Milton.
You dressed up like Milton at work about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, sort of.
You came to work dressed like that, and it was pretty awesome. Like I remember some of the people we were working with didn't really understand what you were doing, and they were like, "Why are you wearing that?"
Just wearing 1990s
but it was funny.
Office
It was perfect.
clothes.
Have you ever had like a negative reaction to something you've done?
Negative reaction?
Now, Jared told me a funny story, and this involved, well, I thought it was funny. It may not be funny to everyone else out there listening. But you had someone, when you had Roger, some guy
yes,
came
I
up.
remember this now, yeah.
Maybe Jared should tell it.
Jared tells the story better. You tell it.
Yeah, he tells it really well.
I don't remember it.
The kid questioning as to why I built a battle droid.
Oh, man. Okay.
Were you yelling at a kid, Jared?
No, he wasn't. He was in his 20s. He was probably like 20. But he walks up, and he is like really dressed like a half-ass Luke Skywalker. Like, this guy wasn't really trying. Like, he's like wearing a lightsaber on his belt, but that was about it. And he came up and he's like, battle droid, huh? That's an interesting choice. And
ironically, he sounded like a battle droid.
It really irritated me. And I was like, what? And then he proceeds to, take a crap all over the Clone Wars and the prequels. And he's like,
that was his angle?
Yeah, and it's like, are you kidding me? I mean, why don't you take your little master replica lightsaber, turn that sumbitch sideways, and jam it straight into your butt? I mean, it struck me as very rude, and he wouldn't stop. Like, he wouldn't quit talking to him either. He was just like, "Oh wow, oh I'm just saying it's an interesting choice. Must have put a lot of work into that, huh?" I'm like, are you kidding me?
Backhanded compliments.
Yeah, well, this kid was an idiot, but we were trapped. We were waiting. Charlie was waiting to meet Peter Mayhew, and it's a good thing he did because Peter Mayhew passed away shortly after this. We waited in this line to meet Peter Mayhew for like 3 hours.
So there's no escape.
No, we couldn't move, and this kid just would not leave. But he finally did. But yeah, he was a total douche, this guy.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, besides that, has there been any other like?
I don't know, not really. People either like it or they don't. I make it. I make what I want to make. I don't make it for other people. So if they like it, good. If they don't, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just
I make this
nobody's
stuff to put in my living room.
Nobody's so overt as to just come up to you and go,
"Hey, you don't look like Kurt Russell."
One of my favorite costumes I saw him make was David S. Pumpkins.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
God, it made me laugh.
So,
what is that?
What is David S. Pumpkins?
Yeah, what is that? I don't know what that is.
You have to
it's
go
the
on
SNL Halloween
with Tom Hanks. It is so great.
Hold on, I have to look it up.
Oh, it's so funny. David
so
S. Pumpkins.
the whole gag in that skit is them standing outside an elevator door.
Yeah.
And at DragonCon, me and my brother and my wife, they were the two skeletons that's with him. And we'd stand in front of an elevator and just hit the button. And at DragonCon, these elevators are full of people all the time. So we'd stand there and the doors would open and we'd play the music and just dance. And people, half the people didn't know what the hell we were doing. And half the people were like, "Oh my God, it's David S. Pumpkins."
So basically all you had to do was pick up a suit from Party City, which was
$30.
exactly what Tom Hanks was wearing in the skit. Like they went to Party City and bought that for him.
That's what makes it
that
so
was
funny.
and you've worn that to work too. I've seen that several times.
I think I wear it on Halloween sometimes, yeah.
Speaking of elevators, I think it was you who told me this story. And this isn't really cosplay related, but were you in an elevator with Lou Ferrigno?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and he really had to go to the bathroom.
Wait, what happened?
When you're rushing to go to the bathroom and you just see it on your face, like, man, it's really gotta go.
So what happened, Charlie?
Nothing more than that. Just
no, but
trying to drop small talk to me like
no. He said I remember you telling he like said something like he was mad that people kept getting off the elevator or something because he said he was going to crap in his pants.
You have to know at DragonCon the elevators are horrendous because the convention's in the hotels, so there's always a crowded elevator, and it was hard for him to get an elevator ride up to his room.
Poor Lou.
Was he saying stuff like, "Ugh"?
Just kind of like grumbling
Someone
to
else.
himself a little bit, I guess. You gotta go, huh?
Starting to turn green.
Like, I have to use the bathroom.
Jeez. I knew that was coming.
Listen, I'm not making fun. I'm just saying how he talks. I just remember that story, and you're like, you told it was like, yeah, I think Lou Ferrigno's about to crap in his pants. We were in the elevator with him. All right.
Anything else? I will say this, Charlie. It seems like the cosplay group is like a pretty friendly bunch. It seems like you guys support each other and are complimentary of each other. Is that a fair assessment?
Definitely.
Or are there a couple out there that are like, that guy thinks his Iron Man is like the cat's meow.
Every kind of group has people like that, but I think 99% of the cosplayers are, friendly and just out there to have fun and support each other,
Well, Charlie, it was great that you could be a part of our show tonight. We really appreciate you coming on. It's always fun to talk to somebody
that's not
who
us.
we spent so many years around and is obviously so talented as you. And like I said, we'll post up a ton of pictures of Charlie, his family, where his address is. No, we're going to put up a lot of pictures of what Charlie's made because it's really impressive.
Where his kid goes to school.
Where his kid goes to school. But I think everyone's going to really dig it. But thanks for being a part of it. Thanks for coming on. It was great talking to you. Hope to have you on again. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jared told me that you haven't watched the Karate Kid YouTube series yet, Cobra Kai. Is that correct?
Nor the original film. So
no. Okay, so
this is
we're gonna have Charlie back on at some point. We're gonna have him watch these films and the Cobra Kai series, and we're gonna talk about it because to get somebody who is a virgin with Karate Kid.
I saw the one with Hillary Swank.
That doesn't count.
Oh, no.
Wait, isn't it canon, though? Aren't they making it canon on the show?
Yes,
it is. It doesn't matter.
No, it's canon. You have to watch it. You have to. You can't skip it.
Okay, well, here's kind of how we should set that up, is that I think Mike has only seen part 1, and he saw it.
I've seen 1 and 2. I actually saw 2 in a theater.
So but you've seen them ages ago. So you and Charlie would have an unspoiled. You'd come to it with fresh eyes, but
I did see that YouTube cut where it makes the blonde dude look like the good guy and the other guy look like the bad guy.
Yes. Ralph Macchio is the villain.
Yeah. That's
that's
where most of my Karate Kid knowledge comes from.
Well, it's actually watching the movies would just be like the warm up for the show because
that's true.
The show is great. But you kind of have to see the movies to appreciate the show. But I hope that you will indulge us and come back on the show, and you and Mike can give, I guess, your kind of fresh eyes on how it all works. If that's something you'd be interested in, we would love to have you back.
All right, I'll do it.
Okay.
So enthused. Okay.
Listen,
Right.
you know it, Charlie's going to be wearing a Cobra Kai gi to his next convention. So, Charlie, thanks for joining us this evening.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming on and talking about how much more talent you have than we have, because it's absolutely true.
And maybe give this episode a whirl.
Hey, Mike, why don't you take that advice?
I lived it.
Mike famously does not listen to the show. He records it, and then he's done with it.
All right. All right. When do you want to hit record?
Oh, man.
That's the best way to end this segment ever.
Yes. Oh, man. Perfect.
You know you can't live without this content. So subscribe to The Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.
All right, stand by. Here we go. In 3, 2. Have you ever ridden in a van with a battle droid? I have. That's not a great way to bring it in.
What in the world?
I
love it. That's
earlier.
perfect.
I need my pain.
All right, shut up. Shut up. All right, stand by. It sounded like Peter Graves from Airplane. You ever ridden in a van with a battle droid?
I didn't know where he was going with that. I'm like,
You ever seen a grown man naked?
All right. Here we go. Stand by. 3, 2,